Welcome back. We're now on lesson 16B. In the previous assignment, 16B, you read about the observational study from the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention. This study focused on the intelligence quotient, IQ, of children aged 8 years who were identified with autism spectrum disorder. We are again going to be talking about a topic that could be sensitive for you, and we understand that. But do ask that you try to consider the facts and just look at the data and realize we are being sensitive, but looking at something that can be studied, put on a graph, and definitely not being rude or insensitive. One thing though about IQ, some scientists argue that IQ tests only measure part of an individual's intelligence. For example, they don't measure emotional intelligence. And others maintain that tests are biased against certain groups in the society. So even more that we are looking at data, we're looking at information, and we're going to use it to talk about concepts, especially the stacked column graphs. Question 1, by looking at the graph on the next page, what observations do you have or what patterns do you see? This is a great time to hit pause, go ahead and look ahead at the questions, look at the objectives, and then come back and we can walk through more information together. Before we really talk about question 1, let's look at the objectives. We're going to understand in this lesson how stacked column graphical displays of data can be useful to show correlation between different variables. And that correlation between variables is not the same as causation. We'll be able to analyze data given in a stacked column graph and write a brief summary of this information. So now, looking back at question 1, it says, by looking at the graph, what observations do you have or what patterns do you see? So anytime you go to look at any graph, notice what it's talking about. This one is talking about intelligence quotient among children with ASD by sex and sight. On the vertical axis, it's percentage from 0 to 100. It has information here about different colors. This one is, the top one, is an IQ of 85, or excuse me, not 85 or higher, but greater than 85. The middle is between 71 and 85 and includes 75 or 71 and 85. And then the last one is the IQ that is 70 or below. And so in question 1, they're asking us to look at observations or what patterns do we see. So if you look at Arizona, there are male and female students listed, and you can see the breaking points, if you will, where the information starts and stops. And the other states, Arkansas, Georgia, etc. Write down some kind of observation. It can be whether you notice some states are higher or lower on certain ones of the ranges, whether we're talking about 85, the 71 to 85 or less than 70. You can talk about just males across each of these states or females, or you can just talk about one of these categories, but write down a comment. Help your brain get oriented to this chart. Question 2 asks us to revisit the graph and your estimates from the previous assignment. Recall that a borderline IQ is defined as the 71 to 85 range, the middle segment. Part A asks us to compare the percentage of males with ASD in Arizona who have borderline IQ with the percentage of males who have average or above IQ. Make a similar comparison for females with ASD in Arizona. So I don't have my preview out. I'm going to go ahead and do a little bit of calculation here. That my middle one, if we're talking, and it's going to depend, but if we're talking about 53 minus 30, we're talking about 23%. If I'm calling this 53, then we're at about 47% in this top category. For females, we're at about 34 at about 56. 56 minus 34. So we're looking at about 22. And if I'm going to call this 56, then 56 from 100, we're at about 44%. So looking at where it says on Part A, compare the percentage, the middle percentage of males, and again, this is where you can talk about when it says compare the percentage of males who have a borderline with the percentage of males who have above average, and then make a similar comparison for the females. You could write some kind of statement like males in Arizona with the borderline ASD are about 25, represent about 25% of the males, whereas the above average IQ have about 47%. And just looking at, double checking my numbers at 54. No, wait, I always said about 53. Okay. So looking here at the 47%, so that's quite a big difference. It says to do the same thing for the females. And if we look at the females, females have more than males in the middle category, and they have less than the males in the top category. If you want to compare this direction, there are almost twice as many females in the higher or the highest IQ range than in the middle IQ range. They're just asking us to compare these. We can compare female to female, male to male. We can also compare this direction. Those are roughly the same in the upper category, and these are roughly the same in the middle category. Jot down something, and then moving on to Part B. Find the state or states with the largest percentage of males with ASD who have average or above average IQ, and estimate the percentage. Do the same for the females. And I need to go mark mine and look through here. I'll be right back. So now looking at question 2, Part B, find the state or states with the largest percentage of males with ASD who have average or above average IQ. So looking for a different color here. So looking for over 85. And so I'm looking for, wait, it said males. So here's males. So we're looking for the longest bar. Oh, sorry, that was female. The lowest bar, the one to go down the furthest. And that one's a bit messy. Looks like, here's our winner. And so it looks like we're at about, this thing's getting pretty messy. If I'm at 40, that puts us at about 60%. So Part B, the answer would be males in Utah. And now we're supposed to look for females. And so I can go ahead and do both of these. It's looking like females in Utah. Yeah, females in Utah, they look a little bit less. So a little bit less, like 58 or 59%. But on Part B, Utah has the highest percentage for both females and males. Part C, which state has the highest percentage of males and females with ASD who have intellectual disabilities, the bottom segment, and then which states have the lowest percentage. Let's see if I can find one more color. And so first, males and females, the highest percentage. So I'm looking for this bottom bar to see which bottom bar has the tallest. Let's start with males. So the tallest bar for males, I'm looking at every other, hopefully my eyes are jumping nicely here. So looking at every other for the largest on the males. The highest, and it's just the bottom segment and then the lowest percentage. So where are we? The highest. Hang on just a second. I need to clear some stuff. I'll be right back. Okay, I'm back. I needed to clear that graph so I could see better. So I'm still on part C, highest percentage males and females with ASD. And so I'm going to go ahead and mark males to try to find state or states with the highest percentages. And it looks like these two are very close, and it looks like we're around 35%. So to answer the A part of part C is that it looks like Arkansas and Georgia have males with the highest percentage of intellectual disabilities. They want us to now look or also look for females, and so I'm going to do those in a different color. And we're looking for the highest bar for females. Looks like right here, North Carolina and Maryland, and we're kind of up here 45-ish. So if y'all want to say 45, 44, substantially higher than the highest males. They also want us to look for lowest, and I've already marked these, so let me change colors and look for the lowest male. So the lowest ones, oh, there's the winner on that one. Right here would be the lowest male, and that's around 15, what are we looking at? Around 15% for the lowest male. And then for the lowest female, looks like it's the same state. Looks like it's still Utah, which is up here, unless my eyes are jumping, around 20%. So, whew, it would be nice if I had a ruler. You might want to print this and mark it off, get you a ruler or some pieces of paper to see these better. But final answers are, as you see there, where females, looks like the highest female percentages are going to be in Maryland and North Carolina. Highest male percentages are Arkansas and Georgia. The lowest male and female are going to be in Utah. Moving on to question 3. Explain why each statement below is not supported by the graph, and if possible, correct each statement. It says in Arizona, about 32% of the boys. Okay, so while we're here, let's go ahead and look at in Arizona. So here's in Arizona. About 32% of the boys with intellectual disabilities were diagnosed with autism spectrum disorder. So this is 30-ish%, but let's go back and see how they're asking that. In Arizona, about 32% of the boys with intellectual disabilities were diagnosed with autism spectrum disorder. Well, this first column does represent all of the boys in Arizona who were diagnosed with ASD. And each section of the column represents the percentage of boys with ASD who have a specific IQ. We have no information, though, on the IQ of children without ASD. So maybe a better statement could be in Arizona, about 32% of the boys diagnosed with ASD have intellectual disabilities. Not all of the boys, just all of the boys diagnosed, out of the boys diagnosed with ASD, about 30 or 32%, 30 have intellectual disabilities. Part B, in Arizona, about 32% of the boys have intellectual disabilities. Again, on Part B, we have no information about all of the boys in Arizona. So just those with autism spectrum disorder. A better statement again would be in Arizona, about 32% of the boys with ASD have intellectual disabilities. Again, if it helps, draw circles and talk about like all the boys in Arizona or all boys with ASD. And this 32% is not all boys in Arizona. This 32% is out of all of the boys diagnosed with ASD in Arizona. That's where our 32% comes from. And in Part C, I don't even like reading it. It says in Arizona, girls are not as smart as boys. And I don't even like that statement at all. And with this being the lowest column, less than 70 IQ, yes, there are more females who fall in that category, but we have no information about all the girls and all boys in Arizona. We just have information about those with ASD. Also, we don't even know the total number of girls and boys in Arizona with ASD. We just have percentages. So how about a better statement of the children diagnosed with ASD in Arizona, girls are more likely to have intellectual disabilities as compared to boys. We'll finish up question 3 with part D. It says autism causes low intelligence. And again, this is an observational study. We have no causal information, and we can only talk about an association between IQ and autism. And what we can see is that from the graph, a large portion of those with ASD have average or above average intelligence. So biggest point on that is it's observational, where we cannot say cause. We are moving on to question 4. What can you say about the IQ levels of females with ASD as compared to the IQ levels of males for ASD for all of the states that were in the study? And it says, hint, look at the total column. I think I can still see it enough and not have to go remove some more information, and looking for some color here. It says, what can you say? So looking at the total columns, and so I'm looking over here at these 2 columns at the back end. From them, we can see that answers depend on the IQ level. Females with ASD are more likely than males with ASD to have IQ under 70. So right here, females are more likely to have ASD are more likely to have an IQ level of 70 or less. When we look at the IQ from 71 to 85, these bars, again, find a different color. These bars are about the same size. So for the IQ from 71 to 85, they are about the same. When we move to the top bar, the IQ greater than 85, there is a higher percentage here. Males have a larger bar, so we have a higher percentage, so males are more likely to have a higher percentage in this category. We are going to stop right there. We're not even going to complete questions 5 and 6. We're going to move on to lesson 16C. So look at your syllabus. If this is the last one for this week, stop and do that happy dance. And if not, keep going, and I'll see you in the next video.